Hi guys, I'm Lily and welcome to our first ever voice video on the channel. Today I'm going to be going over some of my favorite tips and tricks for videos, and I'm basically just going to be showing you how I come up with my builds. So on the itinerary today we're only going to go over 3 things, and this is going to be a multiple part series. So the first one is going to be coming up with the floor plan, the second one is going to be coming up with inspiration, and the third one is going to be a driveway, because a lot of people struggle with that from what I've heard. So, what we're first going to do is coming up with the wall plan. As you can see in some of my builds, I can show you some of them that I have currently. I have a very complex floor plan. On my Palace of Versailles build, one of my most famous ones, it's very chopped up. But that is because I had a book that my parents had gotten when they traveled to Europe that had the floor plan inside of it for tourists. So I followed off of that pretty closely. Now with ones that I've built personally, like my, oops, that is the wrong plot. I need to start renaming my plots, the ones that I've actually built on my own, they have a lot more complex flooring and layout of the build. So I'm gonna spawn my bigger castle build, and I'm gonna show you guys what that looks like. Okay, I name my plots really weird things and I get them confused because I probably have like 6 that have work in them, because they were all once work plots, and I decided to randomly start building because that's what I do. Having no plan is the best plan, I always say. A lot of my builds do not start with any pre-planning. Unlike Froggy Hops and Annex and French Roses, I do not plan out my builds beforehand. I should probably, but like I said, for me, having no plan is the best plan. So this is one of my castles that I'm currently working on. It's pretty good, if I do say so myself, but as you can see here, it's got a really wacky floor plan. But what I think of when I do it is what I want in my build. So whether I want 1 kitchen, 2 kitchens, a dining room, a formal dining room, an informal dining room, servants' quarters if you're building a castle, because historically that would be really accurate, and libraries, sitting rooms, formal sitting rooms, like different service places, like the places right here are going to be used for smaller drink or make areas or pantries, because that's really historically accurate. Some things that are not so historically accurate though are this garage, because they usually did not have garages, they had carriage areas. So you're able to incorporate different parts of the build that you want to see. So over here there's going to be a library, and here there's going to be a private study. Same on this side, because I personally really like symmetry in my builds. You do not have to, because it is in fact your build. On this floor is my rooms floor. I usually have all of my rooms on the 2nd floor unless I'm kind of splurging and decide to put my rooms on the bottom floor, or at least my master, because that's a really common design. Now make sure that you plan out with fences first, because what I do is I go in with this what's it called? Plane marking fence, and I build out my floor plan as I go up. Right? And I place where I want my walls to be, where I want my balconies to be, because if you want to use these really pretty big chandeliers that they recently added to the game, you have to make sure that you have a space big enough for them. So I carved out this place where the stairwell is, and I carved out this place where the dining room is, because I really like 2-story dining rooms in my houses. And as you can see, it worked out pretty well here, because you walk in and there's this really big grand dining area, and over here there's going to be a whole bunch of sitting areas, and up there, same difference. Just make sure that you're really prepared with your build. So I'm back here to the top floor now, and when you're planning out your build, making a wall plan, this build is kind of an exception because I went really detailed with the pillar work in here and with the fences on the roof line, but try not to make any really long straight lines unless you know you're going to be filling them with a bunch of detail like I did, because it makes it look really boxy. And if the style of house that you're doing, like if you're deciding to make your own version of the Palace of Versailles, which is a building in France, it does have a whole bunch of really flat walls, but if you break up the redundancy by adding some like curved walls in, it really makes it pretty and extremely helpful for your build to not get all blocky. It also helps with making a floor plan on the inside because it helps, I don't know, I'm trying to say something. It helps you make a floor plan on the inside because it will break it up a little bit more. The Palace of Versailles, for example, there's, again, not a whole bunch of long, straight walls unlike my other build. And if you do use them, make sure that you fill them well, because you don't want it to look like just a big, long, straight wall. I do understand that sometimes the style with modern and stuff, which is why I'm really bad at making modern builds, because, quite honestly, there's a lot more long, straight walls than I like. So I will have usually no more than 4, except for this big green entrance, of walls before they get broken up by one of these curves, or, don't mind my slow loading, jeez, or by a whole bunch of pillars, because I think that that really helps. So we're going to go into build mode real quick, and I'm going to show you how my floor plan looks on the inside. So as you can see here, the floor plan on the inside is very choppy, and I tried to make it as accurate to the actual Palace of Versailles as possible floor plan wise. Now the inside I did kind of freestyle on my own, as many of the comments on that video said. Yes, I am well aware that it is not perfect to the floor plan, but the floor plan or the decoration style, because I don't know how to make that stuff in Bloxburg, and I wasn't quite as talented as I currently am now when it comes to small detailing, because we did not have the shapes when I started making this build, which was like probably a year ago. I probably should delete it at some point. But when you're making stuff, just use walls. Walls are your best friend. In Bloxburg, open concept is not always the best. So you see here, I could have really just made this one really big room right here, but I decided to instead chop it up with these two, because you can place seating areas, plants, etc. in there to make it pretty. Now, what you don't want to do is what I did here, is follow a floor plan too accurately and have it too tight where you can't get in the room very well. Because what happened to me is I put this bath here because I didn't have a ton of space to work with, and you can't get into the bathroom without having to go through the bath, which is not a very good floor plan. So learn from our mistakes. Make sure to have more than 1 square of walkway through, because like what I did here was almost perfect. I probably should move this plant, but I think it looks really good here. And honestly, you just have to let yourself go with it. Now, I'm going to spawn a couple of other builds so that I can show you what it's like to come up with ideas. I have a Pinterest board that I will try to link in the description. I'm sorry if I forget. I will try to link in the description to help you guys come up with some castle ideas. I don't really build a ton of modern stuff or anything like that, but I keep a Pinterest board. It probably has around 100 pins to it that I based some of my builds off of. Like, I had saved one, and I ended up modeling my cathedral after that. So just make sure that you are prepared. Like, my Bel Air build, which is going to be a speed build, so make sure you subscribe and check it out later when I post it, because editing is hard and I'm still pretty new to it. But like with my Bel Air build, I modeled this off of a really, really big mansion in Bel Air, California. I think there's another YouTuber on here who modeled off the same build, but we got two completely different outcomes from it. So I ended up modeling mine like this, really big, really spacey, really blocky, because it's a modern build. But make sure that if you're modeling off something, you add elements of what you're used to and your kind of comfort style. Like, they did not have all these types of pillars here, but I love them because I feel like it makes sense more structurally. So just make sure that you have it all together. There's the pool table that I made, and that's in my YouTube account too. Check that out if you please. And I would 100% recommend just letting yourself go. It does not need to be a picture. It is Roblox-Bloxburg, so make it however you please. Like, this is definitely not accurate. This isn't either, but you just gotta let yourself go. And for this build, it was one of my very few builds that I actually drew out a floor plan. And that is because when you're not comfortable with something, it's really good to have a failsafe if it ends up not working out the way you want it to. So I had drawn this out on a big piece of graph paper, and I ended up copying it almost exactly, except for some little places where I did my math wrong, because I am in fact human and am not good at math currently. So, yeah, you just gotta make sure that you kind of let yourself go. I'm not gonna walk around this one too much, because you gotta wait for another video for that. Again, I would 100% recommend all that jazz that I just talked about. And I'm probably not going to edit this one because I need more practice, so I'm sorry if it sounds really bad. And the next thing I was going to go over was driveways, that's right. So I'm trying to think of a build that I have that has a really intricate driveway. Trying to think. I think my theater has a pretty big one. My theater's driveway is just like a theater. Sorry, that probably sounded really weird. My theater driveway is just like, it's got a loop, and then it's got different connections here, and then to the doors and all that. And a lot of people like wonder how to get this kind of perfect curve that you get when you work really hard on it. Oh, sneak peek of my new show. But I'm gonna spawn an empty plot so that I can show you guys the best way to make a driveway. This video is getting actually really long, so I'm gonna try to cut it short. Have this last like 2 minutes, so hopefully it doesn't go over 15. And I am gonna spawn an empty plot real quick, one of my work ones here, and I am going to show you guys how I make my driveways. So what I do, let's say you have your garage here, okay? And then you have a matching one on, how many squares is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, that's 8 squares. 8 squares, and lining up with this line. Okay. And it's 4 squares wide, so you gotta do that, right? You've got your 2 garage doors right there. So if you want a loop, you're gonna wanna go down a couple so that it's really consistent. And if you want it to be a big loop, you have to be really soft with your turns. So I usually do mine like this. And then make sure you do it in small segments so that if you're not quite ready to have a really big jolt of driveway, you just kind of let yourself go from there. So then if you have another one where it's getting too skinny, you kind of just add as you go, and you try to go line up with it as best as possible. And if it ends up looking a little bad like this, you're just gonna add a little bit to your corners to round it out a little bit. Like, that looks a lot better than it did before, in my opinion. Like, I think that looks too straight and jaggedy and long, and you're just gonna have it like that. Now, if you wanted a special driveway, like you only have one garage, or it's a two-stall garage, like, oops, struggling. You have a two-stall garage, like this, then you're going to want to take your floor, and what I love to do with my driveways is you leave a section in between, and you're going to put a garden in there with some trees and plants. It helps to break up the really big, ugly driveway. So let's say this is in the middle of the plot. You can either have these converge, like so. Here. This may look bad right now, but just hear me out. You go like this, they converge, and then you have them go into a single driveway together, like so. Uh-oh, that's not symmetrical. So this is just going to be a 3-block driveway, like this, and then you're going to have it line up like this. And if you're wondering for your garden how to do that, you're going to want to use these little garden stones, color them to the grass color that you have, or just leave it like this and place your trees. So you can do it like that, or you can have them diverging and have them angle off elsewhere and make a nice cute little curve out. Keep it symmetrical. Now keep in mind, driveways are not an easy feat, so it's okay if you mess up a little bit. Just make sure that you don't get discouraged and keep it up, because I'm sure you're doing great. So then you're gonna copy it exactly like that. I really don't like how jagged this corner is here, so I'm gonna end up lengthening this a little bit here and here, because I don't really like how strong that curve is. And then what you can do is you can make this nice and cute and merge into the street pretty, like so. Now what I really love to do with my builds, like I said before, I'm a sucker for gardening, is you outline your driveway like so, and then you color this dirt and you place a whole bunch of your trees there. So this is about all the time I have. I went way over my time limit. Whatever. Thank you for staying. If you actually watched the whole thing, comment a sparkle emoji if you made it this far, because I would like to know. And thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for almost getting me 100 subs. This means a lot to me. Alright, see you all later. Bye.